A defiant Dr. Peter Phillips stood his ground as he delivered arguments about the party's decision not to contest the highly anticipated national political debates. At an election press conference on Friday at the People's National Party, campaign director Dr. Peter Phillips insists the party will only participate in the political debates once leader of the opposition Jamaica Labour Party Andrew Holness makes a public declaration of his finances. Dr. Phillips says there are legitimate questions about the accumulated wealth of Mr. Holness and how he came by his lavish Beverly Hills mansion. The size of opposition leader Andrew Holness's lavish Beverly Hills mansion in St. Andrew has been dragged in the political mud-slinging as the race for Gordon House builds up. It has been a talking point for PNP campaign director Dr. Peter Phillips on the campaign trail. However, Dr. Phillips argues that it's not a mere political ploy. He says there are serious questions surrounding Mr. Holness' finances and how he came by his uptown dwelling. At a PNP election press conference on Friday at the PNP's Old Hope Road headquarters, Dr. Phillips made it clear that the PNP will not participate in the national political debates unless Mr. Holness makes a public declaration of his finances to the Integrity Commission. And he has several questions for the JLP leader. Firstly, did Mr. Holness purchase the land on which his home is being built for $300,000 in 2011 through a St. Lucian company?
And we're seeking answers to the following. Was the land on which the house is being constructed bought by him for $300,000 in 2011? 2. How was this purchase and the construction of the house financed, recognizing that there was no mortgage registered on the title? 3. Was the land bought by a company registered in St. Lucia? 4. Is he now or was he ever a director of that company? Who are or were the other directors and shareholders of the company?
Dr. Phillips argues that the party's decision to stay away from the debates is aimed at protecting the integrity of the Jamaican Parliament. JLP leader Andrew Holness has pledged to declare his finances by the end of March, but Dr. Phillips believes that's too late. He's demanding that Mr. Holness comes clean no later than 7 days before the February 25 general election.
6. Is he still an active shareholder or director of the company? 7. Is he or has he ever been in receipt of a salary, dividends, shares, bonus, or any other form of consideration as a result of business done with or by this company? 8. Was the source of funds for the purchase of the land and the cost of building the house included in any integrity report which all public officials are required to submit annually? If the answer to question 8 is yes, when was this done, and is Mr. Holness prepared to authorize the Integrity Commission to release the relevant information?
Meanwhile, Dr. Phillips dismissed arguments that the PNP is digging up dirt on the JLP in an attempt to sidestep the political debates. He reasons that the PNP's absence from the debate will not deprive voters of an opportunity to hear the policies and ideas of the party. Instead, he explains that the party will engage the public through a series of national broadcasts. These broadcasts are scheduled to begin on Monday, and Jamaicans will see addresses delivered by the PNP representatives, including Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller. Dr. Phillips says the series will run up to the eve of the February 25 polls.
There has been and will be ample opportunity, as I said, for people to form these judgments. It is not the case that only a 60-minute or 90-minute engagement on one evening will constitute the be-all and end-all and the only measure of the health of our democratic process. We reject such notions. When we get answers to the questions that we have raised and the issues that we have raised, we will consider the question of participation in the specific debates that have been mooted.
But is the PNP prepared to lead from the front and declare their financial assets? Dr. Phillips says such calls are a distraction since no one has questioned the Prime Minister's financial conduct.
No questions have been raised in the public about the conduct of the Prime Minister regarding her assets or anything else. To my knowledge, no issue has been raised in relation to myself, and I am certainly not the leader of the party or the Prime Minister in this regard. If and when the leader of the opposition puts his declaration out there, ask me the question again.
So you're not leading from the front then?
No, we think we are in raising these questions. I think, quite frankly, it's a red herring to say, why doesn't she do it? Where is the evidence in any shape or form that there is any question for her to answer? She has been in this process for 40 years. No question has ever been raised. Why is it felt now? Because there are legitimate questions being raised regarding the unexplained accumulation of wealth by one person, that rather than the media or anybody else, Integrity Action or whatever they call themselves, addressing that, there is suddenly a claim, let's do it for everyone. It's a red herring.
Meanwhile, Dr. Phillips is rubbishing claims that the PNP is pulling out of the national debates in a bid to shield Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller. He dismissed arguments that Mrs. Simpson-Miller isn't able to square off with opposition leader Andrew Holness on pertinent national issues.
I think it is well recognized that in the last debates, I think everyone recognized that she won the debates. I think that the question itself is rooted in a kind of, what I might call it, a kind of cynicism that, is understandable in some respects, but which attaches itself to the political process. The issue is that if at every point in the process, we simply yield and say that that is how politics is, that you can purchase property for 10 times your annual salary and no questions are asked, that you can build for multiples of even the 10 and no questions are asked, then what remains? We think it is important. The party leader has proven time and time again that she has not only the gift of the gab, as you called it, but she has a particular turn of phrase which resonates with the Jamaican people.
And Dr. Phillips is demanding an apology from Mr. Holness for utterances he made following an attack on the JLP's mass rally in Sam Sharp Square, St. James last Sunday. Dr. Phillips says the JLP leader labeled the incident an attack on democracy, which insinuates that it might have been politically motivated. 3 JLP supporters were killed and several others injured. The police has ruled that the violence wasn't politically motivated.
When he termed the incident, quote, a barefaced and heartless attack on the democratic process of Jamaica, leaving the implication that others had attacked the meeting and that perhaps the People's National Party had been involved in such an attack. He described it as an act of terror, quote unquote. The police have said otherwise, yet to date, Mr. Holness has not withdrawn his statement, apologized to the country, or done anything to reduce the damage to the reputation, the international reputation of the country.
And the PNP campaign director also called out JLP chairman Robert Montague over what he called his irresponsible comments about the bad gas scandal. Dr. Phillips also knocks Mr. Holness' description of the Prime Minister, which is now a legal issue, with a deadline for an apology by Saturday, February 13.
A similar statement was made by the chairman of the JLP, Mr. Robert Montague, who said that Jamaica had bought gas from ISIS. These are not statements that can be allowed to pass in this circumstance where there is much debate in the international community about the role of Caribbean nationals and our governments in international terrorist organizations, where this is a matter on which hearings are being held in the United States and other Congress and representative institutions across the world. These are matters not to be treated cavalierly, but of fundamental importance regarding the level of responsibility being exercised by would-be national leaders. And we think at the very minimum, it behooves the leader of the opposition to distance himself from these statements, and in the instances where he is the person who has made the statements, to withdraw and apologize to Jamaica for them. I'd mention also the what I would call the personal vitriol in the description of the Prime Minister as, quote, Jamaica's biggest con artist. If he has particular facts that he wants to adduce, where he wants to question in any respect the conduct of the Prime Minister of Jamaica, he needs to bring those facts to the table. But to engage in abuse, personalist abuse, and it's not the first time, is not appropriate for the political process. I have noticed that there are those who, despite us having raised these questions before and despite their purported interest in national integrity, have never sought to raise these questions, but seem focused simply on the question of a debate.
And still on the political debates controversy in Jamaica, the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, is recommending that the national political debates continue with candidates who are willing to participate. President of the PSOJ, William Mafood, says a national political debate provides a platform for leaders of both political parties to share their plans to resolve national issues if they form the next government.
The PSOJ, along with the JMA, the Chamber of Commerce, and the JA and JHTA, came out yesterday, as I said. Now we are of the view that we're still hopeful that debates will happen, but we are now possibly looking at in the event that the PNP does not change their stance, then we are going to recommend that the debate should still go ahead, and the debate commission should just hold the debates regardless. And whoever shows up for the debate should just be given the opportunity to articulate their strategies and their plans for the country.
On Thursday, the People's National Party, in a letter addressed to the chairman of the Jamaica Debates Commission, said that it will not participate in any debates with the Jamaica Labour Party until several demands are met. Among these demands is a change to the format to one that mirrors the U.S. town hall political debates. But PSOJ President William Mafood, who is also the chairman of Wasinko Group, says while the PNP remains irresolute, he is meeting with his members to decide if the next move would be a call for the withdrawal of funding for political campaigns.
In dialogue with our membership to determine whether or not they're of the view that the next step would be a call for, a withdrawal of campaign finance contribution. That is really up to the individual members, and we can't ask any member or association to follow that. It would just be maybe a recommendation.
In the meantime, the Press Association of Jamaica, PAJ, is expressing shock over news that the national political debates may not be held. President of the PAJ, Dion Jackson Miller, says it is unacceptable for either political parties to refuse the public the opportunity to see and hear its representatives questioned on matters of national importance.
From the Press Association of Jamaica, our position is that the national political debate should be held. That is important to the people of Jamaica. That is one avenue for helping to give the people of Jamaica information about the parties and their positions that they're putting forward. In terms of compromises, in terms of formats, in terms of anything of that nature, I would leave that up to the wisdom of the organizing body, which is the Jamaica Debates Commission. Our position, though, is that the important end result is that the debate should be held for the benefit of the people of Jamaica.
February 16, 17, and 18 were proposed as the dates for the national debates. And the Organization of American States, OAS, will deploy an electoral observation mission to the February 25 parliamentary general elections in Jamaica. The mission will be headed by Janet Bostwick, former Attorney General and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Bahamas, and will be composed by 21 observers from 17 countries.